Hi everyone, it's Father Joe here, and we are going to be doing Sunday Gospel Reflections starting in the season of Advent. And hopefully if people enjoy them, it's a ministry that we can continue here in the parish. So this Sunday, you're all going to come to Mass, and we're going to begin the season of Advent, which comes from the Latin, which means advenire, to come to, and it's because we are anticipating 4 weeks before Christmas where the Lord, comes to us. And so we have this period of 4 weeks. And in the gospel today that you hear this Sunday, Jesus reminds us that when he comes again, because Jesus came once in his birth, which is what we celebrate at Christmas, but we know that he will come again, which he speaks about in the Gospel of Matthew, especially in the chapters that we're reading today, chapter 24, chapter 25. Of his second coming, he will come again. And he tells us that those who are not prepared, those who are not ready, they're up for a rude awakening. He says that it will be like in the times of Noah. There were some that were kind of just going crazy, living their life, not really caring about God's way or God's will, and just doing whatever they wanted to do. And obviously they were swept up in the flood. And then Noah's family and those who followed the way of the Lord, they were spared. And so it will be at the second coming of the Lord. But then Jesus tells us something very specific. He says, nobody knows the day or the hour. Nobody knows when this will be coming. We all know people who try and predict the future, right? We have like horoscopes, palm readers, psychics who try and tell us what's going to happen in the future. And Jesus, what he's basically telling us is saying, this is all a big waste of time. Your life is not meant to be spent trying to predict the future. Your life is meant to be preparing for the future. And it's a great gospel to begin the Advent season because it's all about preparation, preparing for the future, preparing for what is to come. How do we prepare for Christmas appropriately? What do we do? What are we called to do this Sunday? What are we called to do this season of Advent? Well, I want to invite you to think about, what would you do to prepare if you knew your boss was coming over for dinner? What would you do to prepare if you had a business proposal that you had to present to a company? What would you do if you had to prepare to fit into your wedding dress, right? These are all three very different things, but realistically, they require the same type of preparation. The first thing you have to do is research. If you know your boss is coming for dinner, you want to look up what kind of food do they like, what kind of food do they don't like, do they have any allergies, so on and so forth, right? If you're preparing a business presentation, you want to know who's going to be there, what their likes and dislikes are, how you can tailor your presentation to those specific people. If you have to fit into a wedding dress, you're going to do research. What's the best 8-week diet that I can do to fit into my wedding dress? Well, it's the same thing in preparing for Jesus' coming. We're called to do a little bit of research on our own. In years past, most people were illiterate, and they had to sort of depend on the priests or the clergy or the religious to tell them how to prepare, to tell them about Jesus. But we live in a time where most of us can read, most of us can do research, most of us have the internet, have access to libraries, books, videos, articles. Let's spend this time of Advent preparing by doing a little bit of research. I want to invite you into that. Take some time and go on some good Catholic websites, listen to some good preachers, try to learn more about the life of Jesus. There's a great series that I was watching for a while. I stopped watching and I have to get back into it. It's called The Chosen, and it's about the life of Jesus and his disciples, and it's made by both Catholic and Protestants, but they do a really good job keeping it balanced, and I think it's an excellent way to really get to know about the life of Jesus and who he was. We can't prepare for Jesus' coming if we don't know him. All right, so we do our research. We get to know a little bit about Jesus this Advent, reading articles, looking up things online, checking out some good books about the scriptures and about the life of Christ, whatever it might take. Once we do our research, right, let's go back to the example, our boss coming over. Okay, we know what he's allergic to, we know what he likes, we know what he doesn't like. Once we do the research, then we have to put it into action, right? The research on its own isn't going to do anything. So we have to put into action. Now I have to go out and get the ingredients for my boss who's coming over for dinner. Well, now I have to tailor my presentation to those people that are going to be listening to it. Now I found this great 8-week diet to fit into my wedding dress. Well, now I got to do it. Now I have to follow it. Once we start learning more and more about the life of Jesus, once we start actually getting to know who God is, we're going to find that there are things in our life that perhaps have to change, things that we might have to give up entirely, things that maybe we never thought about, maybe we never thought were pleasing or displeasing to Jesus. And so we have to put into action what our research has told us about the person of Jesus Christ, and we have to apply it to our lives. Sometimes that, like I said, it means giving up certain things. It means changing things about our behaviors or our actions and trying to conform them more and more to the Christian message, to the gospel, and to Jesus Christ himself. If we do that, I can guarantee you that Christmas this year will take on a whole new meaning. Because now it's not just about, the Christmas music that starts like in October now, or the Christmas lights or the trees. All that stuff is fun. All that stuff is great, right? Christmas should be joyful. It should be a celebration of the light that comes into the world. But there's a whole nother spiritual reality going on during the season of Advent. And each one of us are called to embrace it, to live it, and to put it into action, not just to give Christmas a new meaning for us, but to truly prepare, because the Lord will come again. And the question is, will we be ready? God bless you all, and I wish you a blessed Advent season.